Welcome back to chemistry, and this is Free Nail School. So this week we're starting chapter 3, which is nail salon ecology. But per usual, we're going to break this section down into 3. So we're starting with microbiology. We'll learn about bacteria, growth of bacteria, viruses, external parasites, infection, and immunity. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. Microbiology is the study of small living organisms called microbes. These microbes are invisible to the naked eye, but they are known to cause some of the worst infectious diseases by using contaminated or dirty implements and equipment as a nail technician. Through cross-contamination, what is spread is bacteria, which is also called germs. These are one-celled microbes that have thousands of different kinds, but they are categorized into 2 sections: non-pathogenic, which is good bacteria, and pathogenic, which is bad bacteria. So let's dive into non-pathogenic bacteria. This is going to be non-disease producing bacteria. It is harmless and sometimes beneficial for us, but 70% of all bacteria is non-pathogenic, and many of these live on the surface of our skin. So for an example, when we talk about beneficial bacteria, we're talking about saprophytes, and this is a non-pathogenic bacteria that lives on dead matter. If this bacteria did not exist, the world would be covered in dead matter, and that sounds pretty gross to me. So pathogenic bacteria is the opposite. It is going to be disease-producing bacteria. It lives everywhere. It even exists in our bodies. It is harmful. It produces infections, diseases, and even toxins. And toxins is going to be defined as poisonous substances produced by living cells or organisms, okay? I think of pathogenic and I think, okay, this is how I get sick. Non-pathogenic, okay, non helps me know that, okay, there's no bacteria present that would actually get me sick. So because we know that ology means the study of, bacteriology just means the study of bacteria. And on this slide, we're going to take a look at 3 different types of bacteria. First is going to be staphylococci, which is in grape-like clusters, streptococci, which is long chains, and diplococci, which just shows up in doubles or in pairs. So staphylococci, this is normally found when we have abscess, pustules, and boils. Streptococci is strep throat, rheumatic fever, and septicemia. Diplococci is the cause of multiple infections, including pneumonia. So staying on track with the study of bacteria, let's talk about bacilli and spirilla. So bacilli is the most common form of bacteria cells. They are bar or rod-shaped cells that can produce a variety of diseases, including tetanus, bacteria influenza, typhoid fever, tuberculosis, and diphtheria, okay? And if you want to remember this, think B for bar and bar for bacillia, okay? Next up, we have spirilla. Spirilla is a spiraled, coiled, corkscrew-shaped bacterial cell that causes highly contagious diseases such as syphilis and cholera. An easy way to remember this is to think S for spiral and spirilla. Because bacteria can invade our bodies through a break in the skin or any natural opening like our nose, mouths, or eyes, this is why we analyze the nails and skin for us to see, because when an infection occurs, the area normally turns red, and that will give us the first clue that there is something wrong. An infection occurs when an insufficient number of antibodies is produced by the body's immune system to fight harmful bacteria. Now let's talk about the growth of bacteria. An easy way we learned to remember this in nail school was to remember the 3 Ds. In order for bacteria to survive, the area needed to be dark, dirty, and damp, and a food source had to be available. All bacteria go through a growth cycle that consists of 2 stages. This is going to be an active stage and an inactive stage, and we'll learn more on the next slide. So let's go. In the active stage, bacteria can reproduce and grow rapidly, absorbs food and it grows in size, and the cell divides into 2 cells, which is defined as mitosis. This rapid reproduction can develop as many as 16 million offspring in 12 hours. It's crazy how germs multiply, like sickening, which would explain the whole COVID thing, but we're not going to go there. On the other hand, in the inactive stage, bacteria is not always active. The environment makes survival difficult, and nothing can penetrate bacteria during this stage. Some bacteria can survive for a long time in extreme heat or cold. This is when we hear people say that we have certain traits or disorders or bacteria. They are within us. They just lie dormant, okay? They're not active at all, but we still carry them within us. So let's talk about, how does bacteria move? We know that it can enter and invade our body, but how does it move? So due to their tiny size, bacteria can easily travel from place to place through air or water or nail tech to client. This is due to the flagella or cilia. These are like hair-like projections in a wavy motion that allows the bacteria to move throughout our bodies. Next up, we have viruses. So viruses are defined as submicroscopic infectious agents that replicates itself only within the cells of a living host. So they need a host to survive. They cannot live live on their own. They're much smaller than bacteria, and they cause more serious diseases than bacteria. So this is for herpes, influenza, chickenpox, mumps, measles, HIV, polio, etc. Now let's take a look at external parasites. This is defined as organisms that grow and feed on other living organisms. They contribute nothing to their host. They cause contagious diseases. And examples of this would include lice or scabies. And we know how quickly lice can spread in schools, and also how contagious scabies and even ringworm is, okay? Parasitic plants or fungi are molds and yeast that produce diseases such as ringworm and nail fungus, highly contagious, okay? So if you have a client come into you and they show signs of ringworm or some sort of rash, proceed with caution and do not perform a service on this client, okay? Period. A nail technician can spread infection to a non-infected area by using the same implements previously used in an infected area. Be aware of this when performing nail services, okay? This is how cross-contamination happens. So if you're using anything on a client with ringworm and then you use it on your next client, that's how it spreads, and that is cross-contamination. Now we're going to talk about infection. So an infection is the growth of a parasitic organism within the body that multiplies and interferes with the body's normal state. This is done so by pathogens, which are microorganisms that include viruses, bacteria, and fungi. Okay, infections are spread by contact with open sores, contact with contaminated hands or implements, contact with contaminated equipment, and exposure to unsanitary conditions. This is why in nail school, this is why in cosmetology and anything, period, this is why we stress the importance of sanitation and being a clean nail tech, especially if you are home-based. You have to be clean, you have to sanitize, you have to disinfect, okay? This is highly, highly, highly important, okay? You want to make sure that your tools, your equipment, your workspace, especially, again, if you are working at home, you have to be a clean nail tech. You can. And if someone reports you, you will lose your license if you are an unsanitary and an unsafe nail tech. And we don't want that to happen, okay? We're trying to check a bag. So now let's talk about infection types. There are two types. You can either have a local infection, which you should think of staph, which is present in a small confined area, so something like a boil, or a general infection, you should think of strep, which it goes through your circulatory system and it carries bacteria and their toxins to all parts of your body, okay? You should think general, like giant, okay? That's what those types are. Lastly, immunity. So immunity is the body's ability to destroy infectious agents that enter it. We have three types of immunity. The book only lists two, but we have three. So natural immunity is just partially inherited. So this is your natural resistance to diseases, okay? Next up, we have acquired immunity, and this occurs through vaccination. So like the flu vaccine or the COVID vaccine. And then thirdly, we have naturally acquired immunity. And this is just the immunity that your body builds up just from you getting sick. So when you get a cold, now your body knows how to fight off a cold, although it has different strands. But this is the immunity that is acquired through you just actually getting sick and being in an environment where germs and bacteria are present, and it allows your body to build up that immunity. All right, so that's all I have for chapter 3.1 for us, which is microbiology. All the materials are already posted. Chapter 3.1 text and the chapter 3 study guide over microbiology is already in the link tree, okay? Per usual, if you have any comments, suggestions, anything like that, see you in the comments, okay? Let's chat. Bye.